She refused food to buy books. The Millionaire CEO saw it and made a decision that shocked everyone. Before we begin, write in the comments which city you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. Andrew Huxley, CEO of several tech startups, decided for the first time in months to leave the office early. The reason? A book. But it wasn't just any book. It was a rare new release that promised to change the way people saw the financial market. And it was only available in one bookstore near his company. Andrew walked quickly, but when he finally reached the bookstore, something made him slow down. On the sidewalk, sitting as if she were part of the display window, was a young woman in worn-out clothes, messy hair, and an expression impossible to describe. She didn't seem to be asking for anything. She was just watching. There was a sparkle in her eyes. Not the kind of sparkle of someone dreaming of luxury, but of someone who saw magic in the pages of a book. Andrew stopped for a moment. Without thinking much, he pulled $100 bill from his pocket and handed it to her. "For you," he said with a slight smile. The young woman looked at the bill as if a comet had landed in her lap. "Really?" "Yes," he answered with a small smile. Before she could say anything more than a shy, "Thank you," Andrew's phone rang. He turned his back to answer. When he hung up, less than 5 minutes later, the young woman was gone. He looked around. Nothing. No sign. No clue. Just the sidewalk, the display window, and his own reflection, a little confused. He sighed and went inside. He walked straight to the new releases section, and there, in front of the shelf, he stopped again. There it was. The book. Only it was in her hands. Yes, in her hands. The young woman from the sidewalk. She was leafing through it calmly, as if savoring a glass of rare wine. She lifted her eyes, recognized Andrew, and said with a faint smile, "I hope you didn't come here for this book." He blinked, slightly stunned. "Actually, that's exactly why I came." "Then I'm sorry," she replied, turning another page. "It already has an owner." "You bought it?" She laughed, but it was a soft laugh, almost like sharing a secret. "Not yet. I'm short on money. I only have $102, she said, patting her pocket. "With the 100 you gave me," Andrew frowned. "But the book costs $120. "That's right," she answered, shrugging. "Maybe another day I'll be able to buy it. This isn't the first time I've come here just to look at it." Andrew stayed quiet. She spoke so naturally, as if this was just another ordinary Tuesday when you have almost everything, but not enough. "Well, since neither of us has the book," he said, taking a deep breath, "I'm going to buy it. I want to read it too." She raised her eyebrows. "Really? Going to take the candy from a child's mouth? If the child has $102, I'd say she's quite advanced for her age." She laughed. "But since you're going to buy it, promise me at least that you'll read it." 3 times, with a highlighter, he said. "Okay, point for you. But you should know this book will change your mind. Maybe even your life." "That's exactly why I came here," said Andrew, politely taking the book from her hands. "And by the way, I'm Andrew." "Luna," she replied, shaking his hand in a theatrical way. "Book addict, future billionaire, by intellectual merit, and master at counting pennies. Do you always introduce yourself like that?" "Only when I get $100 from a stranger who looks like a bored CEO." "I'm not bored." "Then maybe you're hiding it badly." Andrew shook his head, smiling. This conversation was completely outside the script of his daily routine, and strangely, he was enjoying it. "How about I buy you dinner to make up for the loss of the book?" Tempting. But I prefer to keep investing in knowledge. The stomach growls, but the mind is grateful. "How about coffee?" "The bookstore coffee isn't great, but at least it's hot." "Only if you promise to stop looking at me as if I were a character in a documentary." "I promise." "Then let's go." I have strong opinions about this book cover and about life in general. As they walked toward the cafe, a bookstore employee passed by with a puzzled look, as if he had just witnessed a scene from a romantic comedy between a businessman and a lost character. The bookstore cafe had that vintage charm that made anyone feel like they were in an indie movie. Andrew and Luna sat at a small table by the window while she kept examining every detail of the place as if it were a museum. "So," Andrew began, stirring sugar into his coffee, "I'm still trying to understand how someone chooses books over food." Luna took a sip of her coffee and made a face. "This coffee tastes like water with intellectual ambitions," she said, laughing. But to answer your question, food sustains the body for a few hours. Knowledge sustains the soul for a lifetime. Basic math. Basic math, Andrew repeated, shaking his head with a smile. You're one of a kind, Luna. Thank you. I try to be memorable even when I don't have a fixed address, she replied, pretending to bow while sitting down. Andrew grew thoughtful for a moment, looking at the book lying on the table between them. You know what I'm going to do? He suddenly said, pushing the book toward her. I'll lend you this book. Luna froze with the cup halfway to her lips. What do you mean? You can keep it for a week. Read it, take it all in, make notes if you like. Why are you doing this? Luna asked, frowning. You don't even really know me. For all you know, I could be a scam artist specialized in business literature. Andrew laughed loudly, drawing the attention of other customers. Well, if you are, then you're the most cultured scam artist I've ever met, he said. But seriously, it's because you also really want to read this book. And that way, after you finish, you can tell me if it's worth my time. Luna looked at the book as if it were a disguised trap. Let me get this straight. You want me to be your personal book critic? Exactly. Considering you seem to have solid opinions on everything, from bad coffee to investing in knowledge. Luna tapped her fingers on the table. And what if I don't give it back? Then I'll have to sue someone with no fixed address. It'll be interesting to explain that to my lawyer. Luna burst out laughing. Fine, I'll accept, but just so you know, I'm a tough reader. If the book is bad, I'll write such a devastating review that you'll want to burn every copy. I'm willing to take that risk. They finished their coffee talking about investment strategies, and Luna surprised Andrew by quoting authors he himself only knew by name. When they left the cafe, the sun was already setting, painting the streets of New York with that golden light that made everything seem a little more magical. Do you have somewhere to keep the book? Andrew asked as they walked down the sidewalk. Luna patted a worn canvas bag slung over her shoulder. I've got my bag here. It already has a few books I bought and others I found, she said with a mischievous smile. They all live in harmony, regardless of their origin. Andrew looked at the bag, clearly too small to protect a $120 book. And where do you usually read? Wherever life allows. Park benches, library steps, sometimes on buses when I can get a ticket. Literature doesn't need a fixed address. Andrew stopped walking. The image of Luna reading such an important book on the street, exposed to wind, rain, and all the harshness of New York, wouldn't leave his mind. I've got a better idea, he said suddenly. Oh no. When men in suits talk about better ideas, it usually means contracts or charity in disguise. Neither one. How about you come to my company tomorrow, as a special guest for the day? There you can read the book in peace in the right setting. Luna stopped and looked at him as if he had proposed a trip to the moon. Your company? Really? Absolutely. We have a corporate library, comfortable chairs, coffee that doesn't taste like water with intellectual ambitions. And why would I do that? Because every book deserves to be read in decent conditions. And because... Andrew hesitated. I'm curious to hear more of your thoughts on business. Luna crossed her arms. You want to turn me into a social experiment? I want to give you decent conditions to read a book. And your employees? What will they think when they see a homeless woman walking the halls? They'll think the boss brought in a consultant who gives honest opinions. Luna let out a short laugh. Consultant, I like that. Sounds better than walking charity project. So will you come? She stayed silent for a moment, clearly weighing the pros and cons. Can I ask inconvenient questions about the company? Yes. Can I criticize foolish corporate decisions? Please. And can I use the executive bathroom? Luna. I'm testing your limits, she said, laughing. All right, I'll do it. But if anyone treats me like the company mascot, I'll leave and take the book with me. Deal. Andrew gave her the address and explained how to get there. They said goodbye at the corner, and Luna kept walking down the street, holding the book against her chest. The next day, around 10 in the morning, the receptionist on the 32nd floor of the Huxley Tech building nearly choked on her coffee when she saw who was stepping into the elevator. Luna had arrived. Not exactly the way Andrew had imagined. She was wearing the same clothes as the day before, but she had done something with her hair that made it look less messy and more artistic. She carried a canvas bag and a thermos that had clearly seen better days. "Good morning," she said to the receptionist with a radiant smile. "I'm here for my business appointment with Mr. Andrew. I'm the new specialist in brutally honest opinions." The receptionist, a middle-aged woman named Margaret, blinked several times before she managed to respond. I'll let Mr. Huxley know you're here. Please, just call me Luna. Ma'am makes me feel like I owe taxes." Margaret picked up the phone with slightly trembling hands. "Mr. Huxley, your consultant has arrived." While she waited, Luna looked around the lobby with genuine interest. She walked up to a decorative plant and started talking to it in a soft voice. "Hello, dear. You look well cared for. I bet you never had to worry about a fertilizer budget." Margaret watched her, torn between horror and fascination. A few minutes later, Andrew appeared, and Luna waved at him as if they were old friends. "Punctuality is a virtue I developed out of necessity," she said. "When you don't have a home, arriving early anywhere already feels like a win." "Luna, this is Margaret, our receptionist." "Margaret, this is Luna, our special consultant." Margaret forced a smile. "Nice to meet you." "The pleasure is mine, Margaret. I love your lipstick. It goes perfectly with your expression that says, 'What on earth is going on here?'" Andrew coughed to hide a laugh. "Come on, Luna. Let me show you where you can get comfortable to read." As they walked down the hallway, employees stopped what they were doing to watch the unlikely pair. Luna greeted everyone with disarming ease. "Hi everyone, I'm Luna, consultant in alternative reality. If anyone wants unsolicited opinions about productivity, I'll be available." One of the managers, clearly confused, whispered to a colleague, "Who is she?" Luna turned toward him with a smile. "I'm someone who heard your question and didn't pretend not to. A very underrated skill in the corporate world." The manager turned red, and Andrew quickened his pace, leading Luna away from the scene. "You promised not to cause trouble," he murmured. "I promised not to be a mascot. Causing trouble is part of my basic personality," she replied, adjusting the bag on her shoulder. "Relax, Andrew. I'll read our little book and give you my honest opinion. Isn't that what you wanted?" He looked at her, hair artfully messy, confident smile, posture of someone who didn't owe explanations to anyone, and realized he was smiling too. "That's exactly it." Andrew guided Luna through hallways that looked like they belonged in a corporate design magazine. Glass walls, strategically placed plants, and that productive silence only tech offices seem to have. "This is our corporate library," he said, opening the door to a large room with floor-to-ceiling shelves and armchairs that looked more expensive than minimum wage. "Make yourself at home." Luna walked in and spun around, her eyes shining. "This is practically a temple. It even has that smell of new books mixed with expensive air conditioning. There's coffee on that table, water, some snacks. If you need anything, just ask Margaret. Margaret and I are practically best friends already. She has a very honest facial expression." Andrew laughed and left her with the book. Luna settled into one of the armchairs, opened to the first page, and dove into the reading, as if it were the last thing she'd ever do. 40 minutes later, she got up to look for a restroom. Andrew had given her quick directions, but the company was bigger than she had imagined. After 3 identical hallways and 2 wrong turns, Luna found herself in front of a glass door with people gesturing animatedly inside. Naturally curious, she peeked in. There was a huge board covered with diagrams, flowcharts, and what looked like a prototype of an app. 5 people were in a heated discussion, pointing at different parts of the board. Luna pushed the door open slightly. No one noticed. "So the user clicks here, goes to this screen, then back to the main menu," said a young man with glasses who looked no older than 25. Luna moved closer, pretending to look for something, but in reality analyzing what was on the board. After a few minutes of watching, she couldn't hold back. "Sorry to interrupt," she said, making everyone turn toward her, "but don't you think this is a little confusing?" The young man with glasses, whose name was Tyler, looked at her as if she had spoken in Mandarin. "Confusing how?" "Well," Luna pointed at the board, "the user will have to click at least 6 times to do something that should take no more than 2 clicks. It's like asking someone to cross the whole city to buy bread at the bakery right on the corner." A red-haired woman named Sarah frowned. "And you are?" "Luna." Specialist in unsolicited efficiency and a hobbyist interface critic. Tyler crossed his arms. All right, Luna. And what would be your brilliant suggestion? Luna walked to the board, grabbed a marker, and quickly sketched a simplified version of the flow. How about this? Direct menu, main options on the first screen, submenus only when necessary. The user shouldn't need GPS to navigate an app. Sarah looked at the drawing, then at her colleagues. This actually makes sense. At that moment, Andrew appeared at the door with two other members of the tech team. He stopped when he saw Luna leading an improvised presentation. Luna? Weren't you reading? I was, but I got lost looking for the bathroom and ended up finding this, she said, gesturing to the board. I hope you don't mind me sharing a few unauthorized technical opinions. Andrew looked at the board, then at the team, who seemed torn between impressed and confused. What kind of opinions? Tyler answered before Luna could. She basically redesigned our interface in 5 minutes, and she's not wrong. Andrew stepped closer, pretending he was seeing it all for the first time. Interesting. Luna, how about a test? He said, without revealing that he already knew about her skills. Tyler, show her the problems you were trying to solve with monetization. Tyler quickly explained the business model they were working on. Luna listened carefully, asked a few pointed questions, and then began speaking as if she were teaching a class. You're thinking too small. The freemium model is good, but you can add a layer of gamification to encourage users to share the app. Remember what Clay Shirky said about collective motivation? People don't use products just for the product itself, but for the social experience it brings. Sarah's eyes widened. You read Shirky? I did. I took notes, and I disagreed with at least 3 points, but his foundation on social behavior in digital platforms is solid, Luna answered naturally. By the way, if you implemented a reward system based on the digital dopamine concept that Near IL developed, but added a touch of social responsibility, you could create a positive cycle. Tyler removed his glasses and cleaned them, clearly processing what he had just heard. You just quoted IL and suggested an engagement strategy we've been trying to build for 3 weeks. Well, Luna said with a sly smile, you took that long because you were thinking like a company. I think like a user who has tested every kind of app looking for online job opportunities. Desperation teaches a lot about intuitive design. The room went silent for a moment. Then Andrew started laughing. Not a polite meeting laugh, but a genuine laugh he hadn't had in months. Everyone, he said once he regained control, meet our new consultant in user reality. One of the developers, a young man with dark hair named Jake, raised his hand as if he were in school. Can I ask something? Where did you learn all this? From the streets, Luna replied without hesitation. Literally. When you don't have Netflix, you read. When you don't have restaurants, you study. And when you don't have a job, you analyze every app that promises opportunities as if your life depends on it. Because, well, it did. Sarah laughed. That's brutally honest. Brutal honesty is my specialty, along with movie reviews if I watch from the electronics store window and food critiques of meals other people throw away. The whole room laughed, and Tyler shook his head in admiration. You know what? I'm going to start calling you the sidewalk genius. I like that, Luna said, making an exaggerated bow. It's better than consultant without a fixed address. Jake joined the fun. Does the sidewalk genius have more devastating opinions about our work? I have a list. Do you want to hear my analysis on why you use 3 different shades of blue without a consistent visual logic? Please don't, Sarah said, laughing. My ego can't take any more truth today. Andrew watched everything with an expression he couldn't quite figure out himself. Seeing Luna interact so naturally with his team, making them laugh while giving genuinely useful insights, stirred something inside him. When was the last time he had so much fun in his own office? When was the last time a meeting ended with laughter instead of boring notes? Well, he finally said, I think our sidewalk genius deserves a proper coffee after this spontaneous consultation. Only if it's not the kind that tastes like water with intellectual ambitions, Luna replied. My taste buds have already suffered enough for one lifetime. Tyler offered to show her where the good coffee machine was, and the whole team left the room chatting excitedly with Luna, who kept making funny comments about everything she saw. Andrew lingered behind for a moment, staring at the board where Luna had redrawn the app's workflow. It was simple, elegant, and worked better than anything they had come up with. He shook his head, smiling to himself. Who was this woman? The rest of the day went by like a whirlwind. Luna had turned into a sort of in-house celebrity, with employees quietly showing up to hear her opinions on everything from the office furniture arrangement to the quality of the restroom toilet paper. Seriously, she was saying to a group in the break room, who picked this paper? It feels like sandpaper pretending to be hygiene, as if someone decided basic comfort for employees was an unnecessary luxury. Laughter filled the space as Andrew walked in. Luna, can I talk to you for a minute? She waved goodbye to the group with theatrical flair. Folks, keep the toilet paper revolution going without me. I'll be back. Andrew led her to his office, where she immediately walked to the window overlooking the city. Wow, from up here New York looks like a very well-made computer game, she said. I bet you've never stopped to really admire this view. Actually, no, I stay too busy looking at spreadsheets, Andrew replied, sitting on the edge of his desk. Luna, I have a proposal for you. Oh no, when executives make proposals, my trouble radar goes off automatically. How about staying here at the company for a week, testing our products, giving feedback, being our official consultant on, well, everything? Luna turned to look at him, one eyebrow raised. A whole week? Yes, you clearly have a talent for seeing things we miss. And the team, well, they're more energized today than they've been in the last 3 months. And what exactly would my role be? Corporate clown? Motivational mascot? Real user experience consultant with daily pay, of course. Luna crossed her arms. Before I accept anything, I need to make a few things clear. First, I'm not an employee. I'm a temporary, independent collaborator. Agreed. Second, I'm not a charity case. If I do a bad job, you fire me without mercy. Deal. Third, if anyone treats me like a social project or makes condescending comments about my situation, I'll disappear faster than mall Wi-Fi. Understood. Luna paused, looking out the window again. You know what bothers me most about proposals like this? You people never ask what I want in return. Then I'm asking, what do you want? Full access to the corporate library, including the expensive books locked in that cabinet, she said, pointing to the glass case. Good coffee, and a space where I can stay without feeling like a tourist at my own workplace. Andrew smiled. I can arrange that. Actually, I can even set up a small room here in the building for you to stay during the week. A room? Here? We have a floor used for visiting executives. You can use one of the rooms. Luna looked at him as if he had offered her a mansion. Are you serious? Completely. That way you'll be close to work and, well, you'll have a safe place to stay. This is starting to sound like disguised charity, Andrew. It's not charity. It's logistics. How can you test our products properly without a proper base of operations? Luna laughed. Base of operations? You make it sound like a military mission. In a way, it is. A mission to figure out how we can improve our products. All right, I'll do it. But first, I'll go get my things. Of course. Want me to come with you? No, thanks. Some things a girl has to do on her own. Luna left to pick up her belongings, and Andrew began preparing the room on the 28th floor. It was a simple but comfortable space with a twin bed, a desk, an armchair, and a private bathroom. 2 hours later, Luna came back carrying the same old canvas bag as always. That was quick, said Andrew when he saw her in the lobby. Well, when all your belongings fit in one bag, moving is faster than express delivery. They went up to the room, and Andrew opened the door for her. So what do you think? Luna stepped inside and turned in a slow circle, taking it all in. It's bigger than any place I've slept in the last 6 months. There's even a window with a view of other buildings. Total luxury. And your things? Luna opened the bag and started taking items out. First came the books, at least 8 in various conditions. Then a toothbrush still in the package. I bought this today, she said, holding it up. Seemed like the right time for a new toothbrush to go with a new phase of life. Last, she pulled out a small pot with a plant that looked like it had seen better days. And this is Einstein, she said with maternal pride. My partner in urban adventures. Andrew looked at the wilted little plant. Does Einstein need water? Einstein needs many things, but he's tough. Like me. Why Einstein? Because he has that wild genius look. And because when I talk to him, I can pretend I'm having deep intellectual conversations. Andrew laughed. You talk to plants, don't you? Don't they? They're great listeners. They never interrupt, never ask dumb questions, and never tell you to think positive. That makes sense. It was past 7 in the evening by the time Luna had settled her things. Andrew looked at his watch. You must be hungry. How about some dinner? As long as it's not someplace fancy where I have to pretend I know which fork to use. I know the perfect place. Andrew took her to the company's rooftop, where there was a small lounge area with a few tables and a panoramic view of the city. Didn't expect this, said Luna, admiring the nighttime lights of New York. Neither did I. I only found this place when I started working late and needed some fresh air. Andrew had ordered Chinese food, which arrived shortly after. When they opened the containers, Luna made a face. Gourmet instant noodles? Interesting strategy. It's actually authentic lo mein. Andrew, said Luna patiently, this is reheated ramen with vegetables in disguise. But okay, I'll teach you how to eat properly. She picked up the chopsticks that came with the meal and started demonstrating the proper technique. First, you hold them like this. No, not like that. You're holding them like a weapon. They're for eating, not for attack. Andrew tried to copy her but ended up dropping half of his noodles. This is harder than coding an app. It's all about practice and patience. 2 things executives don't usually have in large supply. After several failed attempts, Andrew finally managed to eat a few noodles without dropping them. I did it! Congratulations. You're now officially qualified to be a 5-year-old at any Japanese restaurant. They laughed and kept eating, chatting about everything and nothing. Luna told hilarious stories about her experiences on the street, turning hard times into funny anecdotes. One time, she said, I slept on a park bench next to a statue. In the morning, I woke up to a tourist trying to give me money because he thought I was part of the art installation. And did you take it? Of course. Art is art. The conversation flowed naturally, full of laughter and comfortable silences. When they finished eating, they just sat there, Hart looking out at the city below, the night breeze playing with Luna's hair. You know, said Andrew softly, today was the most fun I've had at the office in, well, maybe ever. Luna looked at him, and something shifted in the air. The smile faded from her lips, replaced by a more serious, intimate expression. Andrew. They were sitting closer now, and Andrew could see the tiny golden flecks in her brown eyes. Luna leaned in just slightly, and for a moment it felt like... Andrew's phone rang. They pulled apart instantly, the moment bursting like a soap bubble. Sorry, he muttered, looking at the screen. It's important? Of course, said Luna quickly, standing up. I'll head down. I need to check if Einstein is adjusting to the new place. She walked off in a hurry, leaving Andrew alone on the rooftop, still holding the phone that had already stopped ringing. He looked toward the door she had just gone through and sighed. What on earth was happening to him? The next morning, Luna woke up in the most comfortable room she'd had in months and decided she was definitely going to talk to Einstein about the strange tension from the night before. Listen, Einstein, she said, watering the little plant with tap water. Something almost happened yesterday up on the rooftop. You saw it, right? Of course you did, you were there in spirit. Einstein didn't answer, but his leaves looked slightly less wilted. Exactly. I also think it was a good thing the phone rang. Imagine the mess if I had kissed my temporary boss on my first day at work. I'd be fired before breakfast. She got dressed and went down to meet Andrew, who had looked slightly awkward since he first saw her. Good morning, he said, avoiding direct eye contact. Did you sleep well? Like a rock. Real beds are such underrated technology, Luna replied cheerfully. And you? Did you take care of that important call from yesterday? It was just... spam. Telemarketing. Luna gave him an amused look. Telemarketing at 9 at night? They're getting pretty aggressive. Before Andrew could answer, Tyler came running down the hallway. Andrew, did you see this? See what? Tyler showed his phone with an Instagram post that already had thousands of likes. It was a photo of Andrew leaving the company building the afternoon before, and in the background, almost unnoticeable, was Luna entering the building. The caption says, Billionaire CEO and mysterious consultant shake up Wall Street. Tyler read, The comments are going crazy trying to figure out who she is. Luna leaned in to see the picture. Wow, I look photogenic even when I don't know I'm being photographed. Maybe I should consider a career as a background Instagram model. This isn't good, Andrew muttered. The press is going to start digging. Relax, said Luna. What's the worst that could happen? They find out I'm homeless and have opinions about apps? Not exactly a scandal. As if the universe had heard, Margaret rushed in. Mr. Huxley, there's a reporter downstairs asking about your new business partner. And also, a very well-dressed woman insisting she needs to come up. Andrew closed his eyes. What's her name? Vivian Blake. Luna saw Andrew's expression change completely. Who's Vivian Blake? My ex-girlfriend, he said through his teeth. Influencer, has 2 million followers and 0 patience for being ignored. Oh, said Luna with a dangerous smile. This is going to be fun. 5 minutes later, Vivian Blake stormed into the office like a blonde hurricane dressed in pink. She was exactly what Luna expected. Perfect hair, flawless makeup, clothes more expensive than a car, and that artificial confidence only money and online validation can buy. Andrew, darling, Vivian said loudly enough for the whole floor to hear. We need to talk about this embarrassing situation. Vivian, you can't just show up here. Of course I can. We're still friends, aren't we? She finally noticed Luna, who was watching with scientific interest. And you must be the assistant. Actually, said Luna, standing up, I'm the unfiltered reality consultant. It's a new position I just made up. Vivian looked her up and down with the kind of stare that usually comes before a rude comment. How interesting. And how long have you been working here? Since yesterday. But I've already gathered more insight in 24 hours than some people in years. Good for you, Vivian said with a fake smile. Andrew, can we talk in private? About this strange phase you're going through? Strange phase? Asked Luna, feigning innocent curiosity. Do you mean the phase where he hires people based on talent instead of follower count? Vivian turned to Luna, eyes flashing with barely hidden anger. Excuse me, but who are you again? Luna, and you must be the ex he mentioned. The influencer with 2 million followers and 0 tolerance for being ignored. Andrew talked about me? Just the essentials, said Luna with an innocent smile. Influencer, ex-girlfriend, dramatic entrance. You're following the script perfectly. Andrew cleared his throat, trying to cover a laugh. Vivian stepped closer to Luna with a look that promised trouble. Listen here, dear. I don't know what game you're playing, but Andrew and I have history. You're just a temporary novelty. Temporary novelty, Luna repeated thoughtfully. Interesting. Is that how you define people who bring real value? Because from what I've gathered, your role in his life was more decorative? At least I never needed charity. Charity? Luna laughed genuinely. Sweetheart, I was hired on merit. Maybe you should try that sometime. It's freeing. Vivian turned red. Andrew, are you going to let her talk to me like that? Andrew looked between the two women, that clearly enjoying himself more than he should. Well, Luna has a point. She was hired for her skills, not for connections or other factors. Other factors, Luna murmured to herself. Such a delicate way of saying looks and social status. Vivian turned to Andrew with a look of disbelief. You're actually comparing me to her? I'm not comparing anyone, Andrew said diplomatically. Just stating facts. Facts, Luna said cheerfully, are my specialty. Want to hear a few? You showed up here uninvited, disrupted a workplace, assumed you could take control of the situation, and tried to discredit me based on prejudice. That's basic toxic behavior. How dare you? Easily, Luna interrupted. Years of dealing with people who think social status is a substitute for character. Tyler, Sarah, and Jake had quietly appeared and were now watching the scene like a live show. Sarah whispered to Tyler, Luna's taking her down so politely. It's an art form. Vivian realized she had an audience and changed her strategy, putting on a victim tone. Andrew, I can't believe you're letting this person attack me like this, after everything we've been through. Vivian, Andrew said firmly, Luna's not attacking you, she's just being direct. Brutally honest, Luna corrected. It's my trademark. This is ridiculous, Vivian said, flipping her hair back dramatically. When you're done with this social experiment, call me. I'll be waiting. She walked out with heavy steps, leaving behind a trail of expensive perfume and indignation. As soon as she was gone, the whole team that had witnessed the scene started clapping. That was better than Netflix, Jake said. Luna, you officially became my hero, Sarah added. Tyler shook his head in admiration. The sidewalk genius strikes again. Luna took a bow. Thank you. I'll be here all week. Don't forget to tip. Andrew walked up to her, trying to keep a serious face. Luna, you shouldn't have… Well, actually, that was impressive. Someone had to put her in her place, and I've got plenty of experience dealing with people who confuse privilege with superiority. Where did you learn to do that? When you live on the street, you learn fast how to spot and neutralize predatory behavior, basic survival. At that moment, Margaret appeared again. Mr. Huxley, the reporter is still downstairs, and now there are 3 more. They're asking about the mysterious woman who won the CEO's heart. Luna and Andrew looked at each other. Won your heart? Luna repeated. Wow, they don't waste any time. What should we do? Andrew asked. Luna gave a mischievous smile. How about we give them a story that's actually interesting? Andrew felt a chill in his stomach. Knowing Luna, that could mean anything. But part of him was curious to find out exactly what she had in mind. The next day, Andrew arrived at the office with a sense of determination he hadn't felt in a long time. The media had spent the night speculating about his mysterious consultant, and some of the social media comments weren't exactly flattering. She must be really good at what she does to impress a CEO like that, one said. Or really good at other things, another replied with a winking emoji. Andrew found Luna in the corporate library talking to Einstein while reading a book on consumer psychology. Good morning, Einstein. Did you sleep well? Oh, right, you don't sleep. I forgot, plants do photosynthesis, not dreams, she was saying when Andrew approached. Luna, I have a proposal. Another one? You're becoming dangerously generous, she said, marking her place in the book. What is it this time? A startup game. I'll invite some well-known entrepreneurs to an informal meeting. You'll present your ideas, they'll ask questions, and everyone leaves smarter. Luna gave him a skeptical look. This is to prove I'm not just a charity case with opinions, isn't it? Maybe. And you think I care what other business people think of me? No, but I care what they think of my professional judgment. Luna closed the book and stood up. Interesting. So you want to use my intelligence to validate yours, like a corporate version of my girlfriend's smarter than yours. That's not exactly it. It's exactly it. But fine, I'll do it. It'll be fun watching executives try to categorize someone who doesn't fit in their boxes. Andrew smiled, relieved. Great, the meeting is at 2 this afternoon. Shall we head upstairs to my office and get your presentation ready? They walked over to the elevator, and Andrew pressed the button for the 32nd floor. The elevator started moving normally, but after a few seconds it stopped abruptly between the 28th and 29th floors. Is this normal? Luna asked, looking at the panel with blinking lights in a confusing pattern. Andrew pressed several buttons, but nothing happened. No, our elevators usually work perfectly. Oh, Luna said with a mischievous smile, I think someone's playing a little game with us. What do you mean? Andrew, I may not have a college degree, but I know a trap when I see one. Someone in this company isn't too happy I'm around. Andrew called maintenance using the elevator intercom, but only got an automatic message saying a technician would be available in about an hour. An hour? Luna repeated. How convenient. They sat down on the elevator floor, Andrew uneasy, Luna surprisingly calm. You know, she said, I've slept in worse places. This elevator is actually kind of cozy. Luna, I'm really sorry about this. I don't know who would do something like this. Relax. Let's use this time for an honest conversation. When was the last time you were stuck somewhere without being able to work, check emails, or make calls? Andrew thought for a moment. Honestly, I can't remember. Then think of this as forced therapy. They sat in silence for a few minutes, until Andrew decided to ask the question that had been on his mind since the day he met her. Luna, can I ask you something personal? Sure. I'm not promising I'll answer, but go ahead. How did someone as smart as you end up in the situation you were in? Luna sighed and leaned back against the elevator wall. That's a long story. We've got time. I lost my parents in a car accident when I was 22, she began, looking down at her hands. They were all I had. No extended family, no support system. Andrew felt a tightness in his chest. I'm sorry. I fell into a deep depression, the kind where you forget you need to eat, sleep, work, live. I lost my job, then my apartment. By the time I started coming out of the worst of it, I was already caught in a downward spiral that was hard to reverse. And then I found out the world isn't very welcoming to people with gaps in their resumes and no fixed address. Nobody wants to give a second chance to someone who looks like they failed spectacularly at life. But you're brilliant. Being smart doesn't pay rent, Luna said with a sad smile. After a while, I realized complaining wasn't going to help. The only solution was to learn so much that it would be impossible to ignore me. Hence the books. Every cent I could find went to literature, free online courses, anything that could make me indispensable. Because when you have nothing, knowledge is the one thing no one can take from you. Andrew looked at her with a kind of admiration that went beyond anything professional. Luna, you're the strongest person I've ever met. I'm not strong. I'm stubborn. There's a difference. It's the same thing. It's not. Strength is a choice. Stubbornness is therapy. They looked at each other in silence, and Andrew felt something shift in the air between them. Luna was no longer the sarcastic consultant or the witty homeless woman. She was just a woman who had been through unimaginable pain and came out wiser and braver. Luna, he moved closer to her, and she didn't pull away. In fact, she leaned in slightly toward him. Andrew's eyes locked on her lips, and he was just about to growl. The sound was so loud and unexpected that they both pulled back instantly. That was my stomach, Luna said, turning red. Sorry, I forgot to eat breakfast. The romantic moment vanished completely, and Luna, clearly embarrassed, began singing to break the silence. Oh, rebellious little tummy, why do you growl so loud? You're my faithful companion, but your timing's not so proud. La 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 la, mysterious digestion. Andrew burst out laughing. You just made up a song about your own hunger? It's an underrated talent, Luna said, pretending to be serious. I'm a social emergency songwriter, available for weddings, graduations, and romantically disastrous situations. Romantically disastrous? Well, we almost kissed and got interrupted by my digestive system. If that's not a romantic disaster, I don't know what is. Before Andrew could say anything, the elevator jolted and started moving again. Perfect timing, Luna muttered. When the doors opened on the 32nd floor, they found Tyler, Sarah, and Jake pretending they were just passing by. Oh, hi, Sarah said with a very innocent smile. You two were stuck in the elevator? For an hour, Andrew said suspiciously. Wow, that's awful, said Tyler, trying to hide a smile. I hope it wasn't too uncomfortable. Luna looked at the three of them with an expression like she just figured something out. Interesting. Very interesting. What's interesting? Asked Jake, trying to sound casual. The fact that you three are standing here as if you knew exactly when we'd show up. The three glanced at each other. We didn't know. Tyler, said Luna patiently, when you lie, your left ear turns red. It's adorable, but it gives you away completely. Tyler instinctively covered his ear. It wasn't anything personal, said Sarah quickly. It's just that you two are clearly, well, you know. No, we don't, said Andrew. Clearly what? In love with each other, Jake finished, and way too slow to do anything about it. Luna and Andrew looked at each other, then at the team. So you sabotaged the elevator just to force us to be alone? Andrew asked. It was Tyler's idea, Sarah said, pointing at him. Hey, you both agreed to it. Luna burst out laughing. You're terrible and slightly brilliant, but terrible. Did it work? Tyler asked, hopeful. Luna and Andrew glanced at each other again, remembering the almost kiss and the digestive serenade that followed. Not exactly, said Andrew. But it was educational, added Luna with a mysterious smile. As they walked down the hallway, Luna whispered to Andrew, your team is just as committed to romance as they are to technology. Is that good or bad? That depends. Are you ready for more romantic traps? Andrew looked at her, still thinking about what almost happened in the elevator. Honestly, I'm not sure I want them to stop. Luna smiled, but before she could reply, Margaret came rushing over. Mr. Huxley, the entrepreneurs have arrived for the meeting, and there are more reporters in the lobby. Showtime, said Luna, straightening her shoulders. Let's show them what a homeless woman can do with a real-life MBA. The conference room was filled with some of the biggest names in New York's startup scene. Andrew had managed to bring together 5 successful entrepreneurs, including Rebecca Chen, who had sold her edtech company for $200 million, and David Morrison, known for his sharp investments in personal finance apps. Luna walked into the room like she was heading to a picnic in the park. "Good afternoon, everyone," she said cheerfully. "I'm Luna, the consultant on unconventional life experiences. You can call me the girl Andrew found on the street who's going to try to impress you with some wild ideas." There was an awkward silence until Rebecca let out a laugh. "Well, at least she's honest." "Honesty is my only college credential," Luna replied, settling into her seat. "That and a library's worth of knowledge picked up under rough conditions." David Morrison, a man in his 50s who looked like he hadn't smiled since 2010, studied her critically. "Andrew told us you have innovative ideas for the tech market. We're curious to hear them." "Great," said Luna, getting up and walking to the whiteboard. "Has anyone here ever been broke? And I mean really broke, like not knowing where your next meal is coming from?" People exchanged glances around the room. Clearly, none of them had lived through that. Now imagine you have $50 in your pocket, but you need to choose between eating for a week or investing in something that might change your situation long term. What would you pick? "Food, obviously," said one of the entrepreneurs. "Exactly. And that's the issue. Poverty forces short-term decisions because immediate survival always takes priority. But what if there was a way to do both at once?" Luna began drawing on the board. "Picture an app that combines 3 elements: financial education, gamification, and encouragement to read. I'd call it Up-Level." Rebecca leaned forward, intrigued. "How would it work?" "Simple. The user earns points by reading summaries of books about personal finance, entrepreneurship, and self-development. Those points can be traded for discounts on food, transportation, or even physical books." "And how would that be financially sustainable?" David asked, in his usual skeptical tone. "Partnerships," said Luna, writing the word on the board. "Local restaurants, bookstores, transit companies. They offer small discounts in exchange for access to an engaged, growing audience. Plus, the app gathers valuable data on the habits of a specific demographic." Andrew watched Luna as she explained her idea, wondering how she managed to make complex ideas sound so clear and obvious. "But what's the real difference?" David insisted. "There are hundreds of financial education apps." Luna smiled and turned to face him directly. "The difference is that this app was created by someone who actually had to choose between food and learning. It's not market theory based on research. It's a life solution based on real need." She kept drawing on the board, creating a flowchart that showed how the app would work. "Look, a user reads a summary on how to create a personal budget and earns 50 points. With 200 points, they get a 20% discount coupon for a meal. But here's the catch. To use the coupon, they have to take a quiz about what they learned. If they pass, they get bonus points. If they fail, they get review material. That's really smart," Rebecca admitted. "It encourages both learning and knowledge retention." "And there's more," Luna continued, clearly enjoying the presentation. "The app has a buddy system. More experienced users can mentor beginners and earn points for it. It builds a support community." One of the entrepreneurs, named Steve, raised his hand. "And how would you make money beyond the partnerships?" "A premium version with access to full courses, not just summaries. Personalized financial coaching powered by AI. And here's the brilliant part. Companies can sponsor educational content as a way to recruit responsibly." "Responsible recruiting?" Andrew asked. "Picture a company sponsoring a course on basic digital skills in the app. Users who complete the course with a high score are automatically added to a talent pool for entry-level positions. The company finds motivated employees with proven basic knowledge, and the users get real opportunities." The room went quiet as everyone processed the idea. David Morrison took off his glasses and slowly cleaned them. "In 20 years of investing in startups, I've rarely seen a proposal that addresses a real problem in such an elegant way." "Elegant," Luna repeated. "I like that word. It's better than desperate for survival, which is how this idea actually started." Rebecca laughed. "Luna, do you have financial projections? Market analysis?" "I have something better. I'm absolutely sure it works because I know exactly what it's like to be the target audience. How many of you can say that about your products? Steve leaned forward. What if I said I want to invest in this idea? Luna blinked, clearly not expecting that. I'd say you just asked me a question I don't know how to answer. I never thought about investment. I thought about solving a problem. That can be figured out, David said. Andrew, do you plan to develop this through your company? Andrew looked at Luna, who seemed slightly overwhelmed by the direction the conversation was taking. That would depend on Luna. Actually, Luna interrupted, I need some time to think about all this. Of course, Rebecca said, but know that you just presented one of the most promising ideas I've heard this year. And one of the most socially responsible, Steve added. After another half-hour discussing technical details and implementation possibilities, the meeting ended with business cards being handed to Luna and promises of future conversations. When everyone left, Luna was alone with Andrew in the conference room. So, he said, how does it feel being the new darling of Silicon Valley in New York? Luna was looking out the window, a strange expression on her face. Scared, she said honestly. For a long time, this idea was just mine, something I thought about when I couldn't sleep. Now suddenly, people are talking about investments and implementation and you might actually change lives for people who are in the place you once were. Yeah, that's what's scary. Andrew stepped closer to her. Luna, you know you don't have to do anything you don't want to, right? This is your idea, your decision. She turned to look at him. Andrew, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you do all this? Why did you bring me here, give me this opportunity? And don't give me some corporate handbook answer about recognizing talent. Andrew hesitated, searching for the right words. Because you reminded me that there's life beyond spreadsheets and reports. Because you ask questions I should be asking. And because, he paused. Because when I'm with you, I laugh like I haven't in years. Luna smiled, but it was a sad smile. Andrew, you're an incredible person. Generous, smart, funny when you're not trying too hard to be professional. Why do I feel like there's a but coming? Because there is, but I need to figure out who I am when I'm not just surviving. I need to know if I can build something on my own before anything else. Andrew felt his heart tighten. Are you saying you're leaving? I'm saying I've learned what I needed to. Thank you for everything, but it's time for me to move on. Luna. Andrew, this isn't about you. It's about me needing to prove I can succeed on my own. Do you understand? He nodded, even if he didn't want to understand. That night, after Luna had gone up to her room, Andrew found the book he had lent her sitting on his desk, with a note marking the final page. Andrew, thank you for lending me this book, and so much more than that. You've shown me there are still good people in the world. Now I need to find out what kind of good person I can be. Luna P.S. The book really is revolutionary. You should read it. Andrew held the note for a long time, wondering if he had just lost the best thing that had ever happened to him. He woke up the next morning with the feeling that something important was missing. The room where Luna had stayed was empty, with the sheets neatly folded and a small note stuck to the mirror. Thank you for your hospitality. Einstein and I are grateful. L. He spent the morning trying to focus on work, but every time he passed the corporate library or the room where Luna had given her impromptu presentation, he felt a strange emptiness. Tyler showed up in his office around noon. Boss, where's our sidewalk genius? She left, Andrew said, trying to sound casual. What do you mean she left? She'll be back tomorrow? No, she decided to move on. Tyler sat down in the chair across from Andrew's desk. You let her leave? Just like that? It wasn't exactly like that. Andrew, that woman is a phenomenon. In 3 days, she changed the way we think about products, made the team happier than I've ever seen them, and pitched an idea that had experienced investors drooling. And you let her go? Tyler, it's complicated. No, it's not. You're in love with her. She clearly likes you. You work well together, and you let her walk away because you're afraid of what? Being happy? Andrew looked at Tyler, surprised by his bluntness. She said she needed to find out who she is on her own. And you believe that? It's not a lie. I understand her need for independence. Andrew, with all due respect, you're an idiot. Thanks for the support, Tyler. You're welcome. Now go after her. Andrew spent the rest of the day trying to work, but it was no use. Around 5 in the afternoon, he decided Tyler was right. He started looking for Luna in the obvious places. First, he went to the bookstore where they had met. The same employee who had seen them talking said she hadn't seen Luna there. Next, he went to NGOs that supported the homeless. At the third one he visited, a volunteer remembered her. "Oh, Luna, she came by last night, said she wanted to do volunteer work, help people improve their resumes. But she didn't stay overnight, said she had other accommodation plans." Andrew visited public libraries, parks, even some shelters. At every place, he found people who remembered her, always with warmth, always with smiles. "She helped me understand a job application form," said an older man at the library. "She taught me how to use the computer to search for online courses," said a woman in the park. It was as if Luna was leaving a trail of small kindnesses wherever she went. Finally, just as the sun was starting to set, Andrew found her. She was sitting on a bench in Riverside Park, reading a book, with Einstein in a small pot beside her. She looked exactly like the person he had first met outside the bookstore. Same calmness, same total focus on reading. Andrew approached slowly, as if he might scare off a wild animal. "Interesting choice of reading," he said, trying to sound casual. Luna looked up from the book without seeming surprised. "How to Win Friends and Influence People" by Dale Carnegie. "I figure if I'm going to revolutionize the world, I'd better learn the basics of human interaction. And how's it going?" "I found out I already do half the things he suggests, just with more sarcasm." Andrew laughed and sat down next to her on the bench. "Can I ask what you're doing here?" "Reading," she said simply. "It's an underrated activity. You should try it." "Luna, I know what you meant, Andrew. I'm here because this is my usual place to think. This bench and I have a long-standing relationship. And what are you thinking about?" Luna closed the book, marking the page with a restaurant napkin. "About you, actually." Andrew felt his heart race. "About me?" "Yes. I'm trying to understand your motives. Why did you come looking for me? Why are you here now?" Because I missed you." "Interesting. And what exactly did you miss? The clever consultant? The funny woman? Or the person you think you can save?" The question caught Andrew off guard. I'm not sure." "Let me rephrase the question more directly," Luna said, turning to face him fully. "Do you want to change me, or do you want to change because of my presence?" Andrew fell silent, processing the question. "Because," Luna continued, "if you're here thinking you need to rescue me, you can leave right now. I don't need a knight in shining armor. And what if I'm here because you changed me, because you made me realize things about myself I didn't know?" Luna smiled, and it was the first truly warm smile she had given him since he arrived. "Now that's a more interesting conversation." "Luna, you reminded me there's a world outside the office. You made me laugh, genuinely. You made me question whether I'm building things that actually matter. Keep going. You made me realize that intelligence has nothing to do with a degree or a dress, and that courage isn't doing things when you have everything, it's doing things when you have nothing." Luna nodded slowly. "Better, much better." "So, what do I have to do to get you to come back?" "Who said I want to come back?" Andrew felt his stomach sink. "You don't," Luna laughed. "Relax, Andrew. Of course I do, but not as an employee, a guest, or a charity case." "As what then?" "As a partner." "A partner?" "A business partner. 50% of the company that will develop up-level. Shared decisions, shared profits, shared responsibilities." Andrew looked at her, taking in the proposal. "Luna, that's a very serious proposal." "I'm a very serious person, when necessary. But you don't have experience managing a business, and you don't have experience being poor and still having hope. I think our inexperience balances each other out," Andrew laughed. "You're proposing a partnership based on complementary incompetence?" "I'm proposing a partnership based on complementary perspectives. You know how to make money. I know what it's like to need it desperately. You understand the market. I understand necessity. You have connections. I have credibility with the target audience. And what if it doesn't work? Then we learn something new and try again. Or would you rather spend the rest of your life wondering what if?" Andrew looked at her, hair tousled by the wind, eyes shining with determination, Einstein gently swaying in his pot beside her, and realized there really wasn't a choice. All right, he said, but I have one condition. What is it? High salary, decent housing, and performance-based bonuses. Andrew, I just proposed a partnership. That was before you agreed to be my partner. Now that you've accepted, I want to make sure you're being treated properly. Luna looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Are you serious? Completely. Even if it means sharing control of the company? Especially because of that. Luna was quiet for a long moment, gazing at the river. All right, she finally said. I accept your conditions, but I also have a surprising one of my own. What is it? Luna smiled mischievously. I want Einstein to have his own office. Andrew blinked. His own office? With a nameplate on the door and everything. Einstein, consultant in photosynthesis and philosophy. Andrew started to laugh. Luna, you're teasing me. Maybe, or maybe I'm testing how flexible you really are as a partner. And what if I say yes? Then I'll know I chose the right partner. Andrew held out his hand. Welcome back, partner. Luna shook his hand. Thank you, partner. Now let's go home and discuss our plans for responsible world domination. Home? Your company, our place. They got up from the bench, Luna picked up Einstein, and they walked together toward the subway. Andrew? Yes? Is Einstein really going to get his own office? Luna, at this point, I'd give an office to anything you ask for. Careful with promises like that, I might hold you to it. Andrew smiled, realizing his life had completely changed in the span of a week. And for the first time in years, he had no idea what would happen next. It was terrifying. It was perfect. The next morning, Andrew arrived at the office earlier than usual, still thinking about the conversation from the night before. He had spent half the night awake, thinking about what it meant to have Luna as an official partner. The other half he had spent smiling like a teenager in love. Margaret greeted him with her usual efficiency. Good morning, Mr. Huxley. Miss Luna has been waiting in the meeting room since 7 o'clock. Since 7? It's 8:15. She said she had important documents to review and needed strong coffee for high-level negotiations. Andrew found Luna in the meeting room, surrounded by handwritten papers, a steaming cup of coffee, and Einstein strategically placed on the table like a silent consultant. Good morning, partner, Andrew said, trying to sound professional. Good morning, business associate, Luna replied without looking up from the papers. Sit down. We need to go over the terms of our partnership before you change your mind or I start to panic. You're panicking? On the inside, yes. On the outside, I'm the picture of corporate confidence. Einstein taught me that technique. Andrew sat down and looked at the papers spread across the table. All of them were covered in Luna's surprisingly neat handwriting. You spent the whole night writing this? I spent 3 hours. The rest of the time, I talked to Einstein about the pros and cons of becoming a capitalist. He made valid points on both sides. And what were those points? Well, on the positive side, I could help people who are in the same situation I was in. On the negative side, I might become one of those people who uses words like synergy without irony. Andrew laughed. I promise I'll warn you if you start using too much corporate jargon. Great. Now let's get down to business. Luna picked up a sheet of paper from the top of the pile and handed it to Andrew. At the top, in large, careful letters, it read, Intellectual Partnership and Emotional Risk Agreement. Emotional risk? Andrew asked, raising an eyebrow. Well, we're going to work together every day. There's clearly mutual attraction, and neither of us has experience mixing business with other things. I thought it was better to acknowledge the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room? The sexual tension, Andrew. Don't play dumb. Andrew nearly choked on his coffee. Luna. What? We're adults. It's better to talk about it openly than to pretend it doesn't exist and end up in an awkward argument during an investor meeting. You're right, Andrew admitted, reading the document, but I didn't expect to see that in a business contract. This isn't a regular business contract. We're not regular people in a regular situation. Andrew began reading the terms Luna had written. Clause 1. Equal say in all decisions related to the up-level project. No major decisions will be made without both parties agreeing. Clause 2. Full freedom of expression. Both parties may publicly disagree with each other, as long as it's respectful and constructive. Clause 3. Unlimited access to the corporate library, including expensive books for Luna, and unlimited access to real-life experience from Andrew. Clause 4. Mandatory pizza meetings on Fridays to discuss progress, failures, and life philosophy. Clause 5. If romantic attraction starts to affect work, both parties agree to have an honest conversation instead of unnecessary drama. Clause 6. Einstein will have his own workspace and will be consulted on all major decisions. His opinions will be considered valid even if expressed through leaf growth. Clause 7. If the partnership doesn't succeed commercially, both parties agree to remain friends and greet each other politely at social events. Andrew finished reading and looked at Luna, who was watching his reactions closely. This is the most unique contract I've ever seen. Unique situations require unique documents. Is the pizza clause legally necessary? It's emotionally necessary. Pizza breaks down social walls and encourages honesty. That's proven science. And the clause about Einstein? Plants have a different view on growth and sustainability. It would be irresponsible not to use that perspective. Andrew shook his head, smiling. Where do I sign? Are you sure? Because once you sign, there's no going back. You'll officially be in business with a former homeless woman who talks to plants and has strong opinions about toilet paper quality. Luna, in the past few days, you've transformed my company, impressed seasoned investors, and made me rethink everything I thought I knew about success. If that's not a qualification for partnership, I don't know what is. Luna smiled, but Andrew noticed a touch of emotion in her eyes. Thank you, Andrew. That means a lot. He signed the document with a pen Luna had borrowed from the reception desk. All done, he said. We're officially partners now. And now the hard part, telling your team and the world. As if summoned by magic, Tyler, Sarah, and Jake appeared at the meeting room door. Sorry to interrupt, said Tyler, but you two looked like you were having an important conversation, and the curiosity was killing everyone on the floor. Actually, said Andrew, you're right on time. Luna and I have an announcement to make. Are you two dating? Sarah asked hopefully. Better, said Luna. We're getting commercially married. Jake raised an eyebrow. What does that mean? We're business partners now, Andrew explained. Luna is officially my partner in creating Uplevel and co-owner of future projects. The silence that followed was broken by Tyler shouting, I knew it. I knew you were perfect for each other. Tyler, Andrew said patiently, business partnership isn't the same as a romantic relationship. Not yet, Sarah mumbled, earning a disapproving glance from Andrew. Folks, said Luna, standing up, I know this might sound a little unusual. A former homeless woman becoming a CEO's business partner. Sounds like the plot of a bad movie. Or a really good one, Jake interrupted. The point is, I'm going to work hard to earn this opportunity. And I'm going to need your help to make sure I don't mess it up. You have our full support, said Sarah. After watching you put Vivian in her place, I believe you can do anything. And after that investor presentation, added Tyler, we know you're the right person for this project. Thank you. And just so everyone knows, Einstein is officially part of the team now. He'll have his own workspace. Of course, said Jake, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. All major companies have executive plants. Executive plants? Andrew repeated. It's a technical term, said Luna seriously. Look it up. Margaret appeared at the door, looking slightly panicked. Mr. Huxley, there are reporters in the lobby. Lots of reporters, and photographers, and a few people with TV cameras. Already? Andrew asked. How did they find out so fast? Social media, said Tyler, glancing at his phone. Someone posted a photo of you and Luna entering the building last night. The rumor is that you're about to announce a revolutionary new project. Technically, said Luna, that's true. What do we do? Asked Andrew. Luna stood up and smoothed her clothes. We do what should always be done in moments like this. We tell the truth in an interesting way. Meaning? Press conference. Right now, right here. Luna, are you sure? The media can be harsh. Andrew, I survived the streets of New York. I think I can handle a few reporters on deadline. And what if they ask uncomfortable questions? Then I'll give uncomfortable answers. That's kind of my specialty. Margaret returned, even more flustered. Mr. Huxley, they're asking for an official statement, and there's a CNN van pulling up. CNN? Andrew repeated. Apparently, said Tyler, still on his phone, the story's being shared nationally. Billionaire CEO and mysterious consultant announce revolutionary partnership. You're trending on Twitter. Trending on Twitter, Luna echoed. Never thought I'd say that. Honestly, I think I preferred being invisible. Too late now, said Sarah. You're officially famous. Andrew looked at Luna, who seemed to be weighing her options. What do you think? Should we face this together? Luna smiled, and it was that confident smile Andrew had come to recognize, one that meant she was about to do something bold. Of course, but I'm doing it my way. What way is that? The honest way. I'm going to tell them exactly who I am, where I came from, and what we're planning. No filters, no marketing polish, no pretending to be more acceptable than I am. Luna, that could be risky for our image. Andrew, she interrupted, our strength is in being real. If we start off by lying to the press, how can we expect people to trust us later? Andrew looked at her and knew she was right. As always. All right, we'll do this together. Your way. Our way, Luna corrected him. We're partners now, remember? How could I forget? Margaret cleared her throat gently. Mr. Huxley, they're getting impatient. Tell them we'll be in the lobby in 5 minutes, Andrew said. After Margaret left, Luna turned to the team. Everyone, get ready. In a few minutes, our little company will be in the national spotlight. We're ready, said Tyler. And if we're not, added Jake, at least it'll be interesting. Luna picked up Einstein and settled him on her arm. Did you hear that, Einstein? We're going to be famous. Hope you're ready for interviews. Einstein, of course, didn't answer, but his leaves seemed to flutter gently in the air-conditioning breeze. He says he's nervous but confident, Luna translated. Andrew shook his head, smiling. How did this become my life? You complaining? Luna asked. Andrew looked at her, slightly messy hair, simple clothes, plant in her arms, a determined smile, and realized there was no place in the world he'd rather be. Not at all. Then let's make history. They headed for the elevator, and as they went down, Andrew had the strange feeling that their lives were about to change forever. Again. 3 months had passed since the press conference that turned Andrew and Luna into a national sensation. Uplevel had gone from an idea to reality, with a beta version being tested in 5 shelters across New York. The results were better than anyone had imagined. The annual Huxley Tech event was scheduled to take place at the Grand Ballroom of the Plaza Hotel, and for the first time in the company's history, the tickets were sold out. The press, investors, employees, and even celebrities wanted to see in person the duo that was revolutionizing how technology addressed social issues. Luna spent the morning of the event in complete panic. Einstein, she said, pacing around the office she now shared with Andrew. I don't know if I can do this. Stage, lights, hundreds of people staring at me. What if I say something stupid? What if I trip? What if my stomach growls during the speech? Einstein, who now had his own desk with a little sign that read, Sustainability Consultant, gently swayed his leaves in the breeze from the air conditioning. You're right, Luna continued. Worrying too much doesn't help. But it's also easy to say that when you're a plant and don't have to wear high heels. Andrew walked into the office carrying an elegant shopping bag. How's our keynote speaker doing? Considering faking food poisoning and hiding under the table, Luna replied honestly. Sarah found a dress for you. She said you two are about the same size. Luna looked at the bag with suspicion. Is it too glamorous? It's elegant but simple. Sarah said she picked it with your personality in mind. Luna opened the bag and pulled out a navy blue dress with a classic cut, sophisticated without being over the top. It's not horrible, she admitted. Actually, it's pretty. You're gonna look beautiful. Andrew, can I ask you something? Of course. Why is this event so important to you? Isn't it just a fancy corporate party? Andrew sat on the edge of the desk, thoughtful. Because it's the first time I'm presenting something that really matters. For years, these events were about numbers, growth, market trends. Today it's about people. It's about showing that technology can be a tool for real social change. And what if I mess it up? Luna, you've already changed dozens of lives through Uplevel. You've turned my company into something with purpose. There's no way you could mess anything up. But what if? What if you're just yourself? Smart, funny, honest, and inspiring? Because that's what people will see, Luna sighed. Okay, but if I faint on stage, promise me you'll make up a better story than nerves? I promise I'll say it was a dramatic demonstration of how emotion can overpower logic. I like that. I might use it. That night, the Plaza Hotel was transformed. Golden lights, elegant flowers, and a sense of anticipation filled the air as soon as you stepped into the lobby. Luna arrived at the event with Andrew, and even with the borrowed dress and shoes she swore were disguised torture devices, she looked stunning. "Breathe," Andrew whispered as they entered the grand hall. "I am breathing. It might not look like it, but I am." The evening began with a cocktail hour, and Luna quickly found herself surrounded by people wanting to meet her. She handled each interaction with her usual honesty, which only made everyone more impressed. "So you really lived on the street?" asked an investor named Patricia. "For 8 months. I wouldn't recommend it as a vacation experience, but it teaches you a lot about priorities and limited resources." "And how did the idea for UpLevel come about?" "When you have to choose between eating and buying a book several times a week, eventually you start thinking of ways to do both at the same time." "That's fascinating. It's survival," Luna gently corrected. "But I'm glad it turned into something useful for other people." Tyler approached the group. "Luna, Andrew's calling. It's time for your speech." Luna felt her stomach flip. "Already? I thought we had more cocktail time." "You've got this," said Patricia, touching her arm. "Everyone here is rooting for you." Luna walked up to the stage with legs that felt like jelly. The room fell silent, hundreds of faces looking at her with expectation. The stage lights were brighter than she had imagined, and for a moment she seriously considered running away. Then she saw Andrew in the front row, smiling at her with encouragement, and she remembered why she was there. "Good evening," she began, her voice sounding steadier than she felt. "My name is Luna, and until a few months ago, most of you would probably have crossed the street to avoid talking to me." Soft laughter echoed through the room. "Not out of cruelty," she continued, "but because I was invisible. One of the thousands of people you see every day but don't really see. I was the woman sitting on the sidewalk, the one standing in line at the soup kitchen, the figure you passed on your way to work." Now the room was completely quiet. But invisibility teaches interesting things. It teaches that dignity doesn't depend on an address, that intelligence doesn't need a diploma to exist, and that hope can survive in conditions most of you couldn't imagine. Luna paused, looking out at the attentive faces before her. UpLevel is not just an app. It's a recognition that people in vulnerable situations don't need pity, they need opportunity. They don't need charity, they need tools. When Andrew found me outside that bookstore, I was staring at books through the window because I couldn't afford to buy any. Today, through UpLevel, people in similar situations are not only reading, but learning skills that are changing their lives. She gestured toward a nearby table. Maria, who is here today, got a job after completing our basic digital skills module. James learned about financial education and now has his first bank account in 10 years. Sandra used our networking system to find permanent housing. Spontaneous applause began to rise across the room. But the most incredible thing I've learned these past few months is that helping others teaches us about ourselves. Every person who has used UpLevel has taught me something about resilience, about creativity, about finding solutions where none seem to exist. Luna smiled, and this time it was a truly relaxed smile. You know what the difference is between someone without a home and a CEO? Sometimes just a string of circumstances. And if circumstances can take everything from someone, they can also give it all back. Our job is to build bridges between those realities. UpLevel is our first bridge, but it won't be the last. Because I've learned that when you give someone the tools to change their life, they don't just transform themselves, they transform everyone around them. The audience erupted in long, loud applause. Luna saw people wiping their eyes, others standing and clapping. She looked for Andrew in the crowd and saw him watching her with an expression she had never seen before. "Thank you," she said into the microphone. "And remember, we are all just a few circumstances away from needing a second chance. Let's make sure that chance exists." The applause went on for almost 2 minutes. Luna waved and began to walk toward the side stairs of the stage, but Andrew had come up and was now walking toward her. "Everyone," he said, taking the microphone, "I want to thank Luna for that extraordinary speech, and I want to thank all of you for supporting not just UpLevel, but the idea that technology can be a tool for social justice. He turned to Luna, who stood beside him, slightly confused as to why he was extending the moment. But most of all, Andrew continued, I want to thank Luna for teaching me that real success isn't about how much money you make. It's about how many lives you change. And Luna, you've completely changed mine. Luna looked at him, and something in his voice made her realize this was no longer part of the official event. Andrew? She whispered. You taught me how to laugh again. You showed me that intelligence comes in forms I had never considered. You showed me that courage is continuing to try when you have nothing to lose, and that generosity is helping others even when you need help yourself. The room was completely silent, everyone realizing they were witnessing something personal. And you showed me that I've been in love with you since the moment you told me bookstore coffee tastes like water with intellectual ambitions. Luna felt her heart stop. Andrew, are you saying this in front of 500 people? Yes, because I want everyone to know that you're not just my business partner. You are the most amazing person I've ever met, and I love you. Before Luna had time to fully process what was happening, Andrew leaned in and kissed her. The room erupted. Applause, cheers, whistles. Camera flashes went off from every direction. Luna was stunned for a moment, but then she kissed him back, forgetting completely where they were. When they finally pulled apart, the first thing Luna said was, Did you plan this? The kiss? No, that was completely spontaneous, and probably a terrible decision from a public relations standpoint. And the love declaration in front of half the world? Also spontaneous. Also probably terrible for public relations. Luna laughed, still in his arms. Well, since we've already ruined our professional image, can I say I love you too? Please do. I love you, Andrew Huxley, even if your sense of timing for romance is terrible. The audience laughed and applauded even louder. Andrew took the microphone again. Everyone, since today seems to be full of surprises, I have one more. Starting next week, Luna will lead our new project, the Digital Opportunities Center. A physical space where people in vulnerable situations will have access not only to up-level, but also to in-person courses, mentoring, and job placement resources. And, Luna added, grabbing the mic, it's going to have Bev Best Coffee Shop in New York, because bad coffee is a crime against humanity. The evening ended with more applause, more photos, and reporters rushing to broadcast the story that had just unfolded in front of them. In the days that followed, the video of the kiss went wildly viral. Luna and Andrew became a global trending topic. Comments poured in by the millions. Who is she, and where can I find a Luna of my own? The homeless woman who won over the CEO feels like a movie. This is better than any Netflix series. Relationship goals, lifting each other up to change the world. TV shows fought over exclusive interviews. Publishers offered million-dollar book deals. Hollywood sent offers for the movie rights. Luna and Andrew, now officially living together in his apartment. Einstein had his own terrace, watched the news from the couch, still trying to understand how their lives had changed so fast. You want to hear something funny? Luna said, curled up against Andrew's chest. What? 6 months ago, I didn't even have an address. Now I have a Wikipedia page. What does it say? Social entrepreneur, speaker, and urban survival expert. They forgot to mention professional plant conversationalist. Andrew laughed. Einstein is going to be offended he didn't get credited. Einstein's handling the fame well. Yesterday I got 3 offers for him to do fertilizer commercials. Are you happy? Andrew asked, suddenly more serious. Luna turned to look at him. With the fame, the success, the fact that I can't buy coffee anymore without someone recognizing me? With all of it. With us. Luna smiled and kissed his chin. Andrew, 6 months ago I was sleeping on park benches and counting coins to buy books. Today I have a company, a purpose, a billionaire boyfriend who lets me reorganize his library, and a plant that's famous on Instagram. Of course I'm happy. Even though everything changed so quickly, especially because it changed so quickly, it reminds me that life can surprise you at any moment, and that sometimes the best things show up when you least expect them. Like love? Like love, Luna agreed. Although I still think your romantic timing is questionable. Hey, it worked, didn't it? It did? She admitted. But next time, give me a little warning before kissing me in front of the whole world. Next time, Luna laughed. Okay, maybe not. Spontaneity has its charm. They sat in silence for a moment, watching their own faces on TV, still trying to believe that the people on the screen were really them. Luna? Yes? Thank you. For what? For showing me that life can be an adventure, not just a routine. And thank you for showing me that dreams can come true, even when you forgot you were still allowed to dream. Andrew held her close and kissed her. 6 months after the event that turned Luna and Andrew into a national sensation, they were sitting at a cafe in Paris, reviewing the final details of the book Luna had just written. The table was covered with papers, a laptop, 2 cups of coffee that had gone cold, and Einstein, who now traveled the world as an international sustainability consultant. "Are you sure about the title?" Andrew asked, looking at the printed cover. "How I Traded Food for Wisdom and Got a CEO as a Bonus sounds a bit irreverent for a serious publisher." "Andrew, irreverence is my trademark," Luna replied, making notes in the margin of a page. "Besides, polite titles don't sell, and we need to sell to fund the next projects. It's just that bonus CEO makes me sound like a prize in a cereal box. Would you prefer CEO on special offer?" "Luna, relax," she said, laughing. "The publisher loved the title, said it's exactly the kind of humor that will make the book stand out in the self-help section." They were in Paris as part of a world tour to visit social projects similar to Up-Level. In the past few months, they had visited programs in London, Berlin, Tokyo, and now Paris. Each city taught them something new about how technology could be used for social inclusion. "Remember the community library we visited yesterday?" Luna said, flipping through her notes. "They have an amazing idea to use virtual reality to teach practical skills. Imagine if we brought something like that to the Opportunity Center?" "I'm already imagining it," Andrew said. "You come up with a new idea every 2 hours. Soon we'll need another building just to keep up with your projects." "That's a good problem to have." Andrew looked at Luna, focused on her notes, and couldn't help but smile. Over the past few months, she had become a real force in the world of social business, an in-demand speaker, a consultant to other companies, and now a published author. But what impressed him most was that none of the success had changed who she was. "Luna, can I read the last paragraph of the book again?" "Sure," she said, handing him the final pages. "But if you suggest changes, Einstein and I will vote against them." Andrew read aloud, "I've learned that you don't need to have everything to change everything. You just need to know what truly matters. For me, it's worth fighting for a world where intelligence isn't measured by your address, where opportunity doesn't depend on where you come from, and where everyone gets the chance to discover what they're capable of. And if along the way you find someone who loves you not despite who you are, but because of it, well, that's just the universe being kind." "It's perfect," Andrew said. "It's going to make millions of people cry." That was the goal. Tears sell books. "You're terrible. I'm practical. There's a difference." At that moment, Luna's phone rang. It was Sarah, calling from New York. "Hi, Sarah. How are things over there?" "Luna, I have news. Up-Level just passed 100,000 active users, and the Opportunity Center now has a 3-month waiting list." "Really?" Luna jumped up from her chair, excited. 100,000? And there's more. The UN wants to talk to you both about bringing the program to developing countries." "The UN?" Luna looked at Andrew, stunned. "Sarah, are you sure?" "Absolutely. They want a meeting once you're back from Paris." When Luna hung up, she stood still for a moment, processing the news. "The UN?" she finally said. "Andrew, the United Nations wants to speak with us." "I heard. How do you feel about that?" "Terrified and thrilled in equal measure. It's a strange mix. That's exactly how you felt when you went on stage at that event. And when I agreed to be your partner, and when I decided to write the book, looks like fear and excitement are my new comfort zone." Andrew stood up and gave her a hug. "You realize that in less than a year, you've gone from living on the streets to conversations with the United Nations? When you put it that way, it sounds kind of impossible. Not impossible, just extraordinary." They decided to celebrate by walking along the banks of the Seine, enjoying the Parisian evening. Luna carried Einstein, who had become something of an unofficial tourist mascot, with people stopping to take photos with the most famous plant on Instagram. "You know what's funny?" Luna said as they walked. "A year ago I thought my life was over. I thought I'd never get out of the situation I was in. And what changed? I think I changed my definition of having everything. I used to think it meant a house, a job, stability, all the conventional stuff. Now I see that having everything can simply mean having purpose and people who care about you. And a bonus CEO? The bonus CEO is just an unexpected perk. They stopped on a bridge, looking at the river and the city around them. Luna, can I ask you something? You can always ask. If you could go back in time and change something, would you? Luna thought for a moment. Losing my parents? Yes, I'd change that. But the rest? I don't think so. Everything I went through brought me here, brought me to you, gave me the perspective I have now. Even the bad moments? Especially the bad moments. They taught me how to truly value the good ones. Andrew stayed quiet for a moment, looking out over the water. Andrew, are you okay? I'm thinking. About what? About how to thank the universe for that day at the bookstore. You could start by not asking deep philosophical questions while I'm trying to enjoy a beautiful view. Andrew laughed. Sorry, it's just, sometimes I still can't believe this is real. Believe it, and if you can't, Einstein can confirm. He was there when it all started. The next day, they decided to visit a used book fair in the Latin Quarter. Luna was in her element, digging through shelves filled with books in various languages, making discoveries and hilarious comments about obscure titles. Look at this, she said, holding up a book to Andrew, How to Win Friends Through Interpreting Fish Dreams. That's oddly specific, even for French standards. Are you going to buy it? Of course. Might help me connect better in underwater social situations. Andrew shook his head, smiling. While Luna kept exploring, he quietly searched for something in particular among the tables. After a few minutes, he found it. An old French edition of The Little Prince, the cover worn but the pages intact. Luna, he called. Found another one, she said, walking over with a pile of books. Applied Philosophy for Urban Gardening. Einstein's going to love it. Luna, can I show you something? Sure. Andrew opened The Little Prince to a specific page where he had placed a small paper marker. Can you read this? Luna looked at the French text and translated it. It's the time you spent on your rose that makes your rose so important. Why do you want me to read this? Because it's true. The time I spent with you, all of it. The conversations, even the debates about toilet paper, that's what made you the most important person in my life. Luna looked at him, a curious expression on her face. Andrew, that was beautiful. But why are you making me read French philosophy at a book fair? Because, Andrew said, closing the book and dropping to one knee right there between the tables of old books, I want to spend the rest of my life wasting time with you. Luna nearly dropped her stack of books. Andrew, you're kneeling at a book fair. It's the perfect place. A book brought us together. It's through books I came to understand your mind. And now, surrounded by them, I want to ask you something. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Luna, will you marry me? The whole fair had gone quiet. Vendors, shoppers, even passing tourists were watching. Luna looked at Andrew, the ring, the books all around them, and started laughing. You picked a used book fair to propose to me? I picked the place where you'd be happiest. What if I say yes? Then we'll buy all these books and celebrate with Einstein. And if I say no, then I'm sure you'd have a good reason, and I'd have to accept it. Luna knelt in front of him so they were eye to eye. Andrew Huxley, you are the most extraordinary man I've ever met. You found me when I was invisible and made me feel seen. You gave me chances when no one else would, and you loved me, not in spite of my circumstances, but with them. So, is that a yes? It's a huge, obvious, enthusiastic yes. The fair erupted in applause. Vendors shouted, "Felicitations," and tourists snapped pictures. Someone began humming La Vie en Rose. When they finally stood up, Luna looked at the ring now on her finger. It's beautiful, but you do realize now we'll have to explain to everyone that we got engaged at a used book fair in Paris? There are worse ways to start a life together. True, at least Einstein approved. They glanced at Einstein, who sat strategically placed on a nearby table, his leaves gently fluttering in the breeze. How do you know he approved? He told me. Plants are very straightforward about matters of the heart. Andrew kissed her right there, surrounded by books and strangers who had become unintentional witnesses to a perfect moment. "So," said Luna when they pulled apart, "what's the next chapter of our story?" "I don't know," Andrew replied. "But I do know I want to write it with you, and Einstein." And Einstein. They spent the rest of the afternoon buying books, calling friends and family to share the news, and imagining how they'd tell the story to their future grandchildren. "One thing," Luna said as they walked back to the hotel, arms full of books and hearts full of joy. "What is it?" "When we give interviews about the engagement, can we make up a more romantic version? Like, you proposed at the top of the Eiffel Tower?" "Luna, our real story is more romantic than any fiction." "You're right, and funnier, and a lot more honest." "Exactly," Luna said, intertwining her fingers with his. "And honesty, my dear fiancé, is truly the only thing that matters." They kept walking through the streets of Paris, two people who had found, in love and in shared purpose, something neither of them knew they were looking for. What did you think of Luna and Andrew's story? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to follow all our stories, and stick around to watch more heartwarming tales right here on the end screen.